Making sure it's connected quick here. Then we'll get going. And it's up. All right. Yeah, I guess this whole time I didn't realize I was putting that logo overlay right over my face. It's probably a good thing for you guys. Don't have to look at it. I wonder if I can change that spotlight. Doesn't really look like it. After this one, I'll work on seeing if I can move where the watermark goes. But yeah, so I guess right now we're working on finishing up adding a favoriting to the prompt. The emulator still got that issue where we have to hot reload it quick right when we get back. But other than that, everything should be working as expected up to yesterday. So yeah, what we're going to work on first right now is how we have these prompts. We want users to be able to favorite their favorite prompts, obviously, so that they can like save them. And then when we click this button, probably like 20% of the time, maybe 30% of the time, we'll pull from their list of favorites. We still, I think most of the time, want to throw out new prompts just to keep variety out there. But we do also want them to be able to at least some of the time get their favorite prompts. And we'll probably build somewhere in probably off the settings page, maybe a dialogue or something that pops up that'll let people manage their favorites and remove things and whatnot. But first, we need to add a feature so you can even add them. So we're going to be storing these in that same SQLite database. What's going to be a little weird is that this table is not created right off the start, like on the onCreate. So we have our onCreate in the start database where we're creating the entries table, but we won't have a prompts table. So when we click favorite, we're just going to have to dynamically check if the prompts table exists. So let's Google how to do that real quick. SQLite, check if table exists, create if doesn't. Pretty simple. Create table if not exists. So we're going to basically run this create table if not exists query to create our table that we'll just call prompts. We can see our prompts have an ID and a prompt. So, I mean, it's going to be basically 3 columns. It's going to be an ID, integer, primary key, that's an auto increment. So basically this whole thing. And then we'll have a text field that'll just be the actual prompt value. And then we'll have a Boolean field, which will be a true false of whether it's favorited or not. So let's implement this. So favorite prompt. So we're going to do if db equals null or db dot our database should be started before we get here, but just in case, similar to down here, we're just going to check, create it. Just in case, we'll do this tier 2. The DB shouldn't really be getting closed, but so we're going to have to do run it db.execute to create the table if not exists. According to this framework, create table if not exists. db.execute create table if not exists. Call it prompts, and then that's what we're going to be actually seeding into it. So we're going to have ID, integer, primary key, auto increment, not auto increment. So we do want that to be the primary key, but we don't want it to be auto increment because we're going to be feeding it the IDs from the JSON file so that we can match on the ID. The auto increment would break that because it would just try to start at 0 or 1 and then just keep incrementing it as we add new. And we want to be able to actually put in the ID that corresponds to the JSON file for the prompts. So we do want it to be a primary key so that we're not putting the same prompt in twice, but we don't want it to be auto increment. And then we're just going to get a prompt text and favorited bool. I'm pretty sure it's just bool. SQLite bool column. I don't know if you have to actually write it out fully as Boolean or if it'll take bool. Does not have a Boolean storage class. So I guess we just have to store it as 0, 1, like binary indicator, which is fine. It'll take care of the same thing that we're going to need for it. Let's see if they have a suggested way to handle this. From the create table statement, Boolean will come out to numeric. So maybe we can just pass in Boolean. Let's see. Signed integer stored in. I guess I do have to do an integer with 0 to 1. Totally fine. Integer. So binary Boolean indicator. Mm. Second. Trying to go to my own channel. All right, cool. So we're live. So this should be creating our table if it doesn't already exist, which is what we want to do first. And then we need to actually add the prompt in. So we're going to have the prompt stored here in prompt. I think I did one based, which is good because then that default, what are you grateful for today? Today I am grateful for prompt. We can just see that as 0. Today I am grateful for. So if the prompt is not equal to null, I guess that one we don't really need to favorite it because right now that's always just going to be the first thing that pops up. And I think I'm kind of all right with that, with just keeping it basic. Yeah. So then we're basically going to not favorite anything if it's still on that first initial prompt, since that's always going to be the first one that comes up. It doesn't really pay to favorite it. So if the prompt's not equal to null, though, we're going to want to do a insert or update. So SQLite insert or update. Which is maybe replace is what we want. Insert or replace into. Okay. Because we would get an error if we were just trying to insert it. Yeah, because it would be basically giving us the primary key error because we set that as primary key. So the ID can only be in the table once in that column. So insert or replace into table. Here's your field names, which we just have the 3 values. Selected ID from book where name equals search name. Okay. Not in the insert list, we set to null. If the row already exists, that's fine. We'll be passing in the whole row. I mean, it's only 3 columns. So the one thing we do need to do, though, is check whether it's already favorited or not. So we're going to have to get. So we're looking at our get entries to see what we're getting when we run a query is a list of map string dynamic, which makes sense. And then we can use that. So let's just sort of write out our pseudocode here for the steps that we have to take. So we have check if prompt is already favorited. Which will just be a simple query to check that favorited column for the ID. Update or insert prompt to table and flip favorited value. Set true if false or not inserted. Set false if already favorited. We will have to do some state management to update back and forth. I think the easiest way to do that is we'll just create a simple prompt model so that we can store the favorited value in the prompt. So let's just do that quick. So class prompt, it's going to be a pretty simple class. We'll have int ID, string, prompt. That's what we called it in the DB, right? Yeah. Int ID, string prompt, favorited, which will be a bool. Bool, favorited. And then I don't think I'm going to do a factory. I'll just do a simple ID, this prompt, this favorited. A couple of these we want required. Oop, I can't do that there. No, whatever. We're in control of what we're passing in here anyways. Prompt, that should give us an error down here. Prompt.id, but where's our get new prompt? So our prompt is actually going to be prompt map ID. So ID, prompt map ID. Sure, it's called prompt. Prompt equals prompt map prompt. Favorited. We'll start it with false for now because we're getting it from there. Yeah, so we're gonna have to add in from based on percent split. We'll work on adding that in later. Right now we're getting a prompt. If it's coming from the JSON, it's check if prompt already in the SQLite database. Because sometimes we might get one from the JSON file that's already saved. We still want to make sure it's known that it's saved. So we'll have to do that. But first, let's get to saving these prompts. I think we can default favorite it to false. Now we're going to need to set that to true if it's already favorited, but we'll worry about that. So if prompt is not equal to null, now we need to save that prompt into the DB. So we'll favorite so if prompt.favorited, then we're going to be unfavoriting, else we'll be turning it favorite. Setting new favorited value. False if currently favorited, true if not. And then we're going to have well, we need to await this first of all so that it's created. Then we're going to need to await a db.execute. Insert or replace, right? Insert or replace into prompts ID prompt favorited as values. Oh, no, not values, just values. Not as values, just values. Values. Prompt.id prompt and if favorite is true and 1 else 0, since we have to feed that an integer, this is 0 or 1, so 0 is false. So if it's already favorited, we're setting it to false, then we'll pass in a 0. Then update the current prompt state. Prompt.favorited equals favorite. And then we want to notify listeners. And then further up in main.dart where we're getting stuff from the prompt, so we're going to have map.prompt .prompt. And here we're going to have it's not equal to null, and map.prompt favorited. Then we're going to want icons dot favorite. We have favorite border. Favorite rounded. So let's see what that looks like. So we have an error on 35. So I guess since I changed that type, we need to rebuild. Completely. Let's just make sure we're getting what should happen here. So if prompt is not equal to null, let's make sure this is working. A little bit paranoia here, I guess, but looks like fantasy transactions have been processed. But I'm middle of the pack in 3 out of 4 leagues, and at the bottom of the pack in 1. Rough year, but let's see. Receiver null. Tried calling ID. Ah, that makes sense. Because if there is no prompt, then it will fail. Default prompt. Now when we switch it, failed assertion. Boolean expression must not be null. Favorited should never be null. Maybe we have to default it in there. That could very well just be me not knowing Dart very well. So default prompt. We'll get a new prompt. I'm guessing it's struggling to handle for the apostrophe and your being unescaped. While compiling. I think I do actually think I just need to wrap the prompt in double quotes. Oops. And rebuild. Check that out. So we're successfully able to flip that. Let's try to find one that has an apostrophe in it. I think that might have just been one and I skipped right over it. I did get that inspired one twice. So I need to be checking in the DB. But yeah, so I've gotten that. Man, who knows? If I click this 30 times, I should get it at least once, but the train is coming through. So here we go. And that's proper. So now we need to check when we pull prompts from here. All right. Select from JSON or Like that. So we're going to do if random number generator dot next int in 100 is less than 20. Get from SQLite. Get from JSON. We're getting it from SQLite. Get entries. db.query. Results are going to be pulling from the prompts table where equals 1. And we're going sort of back in the day, we've been watching Chuck on Amazon. Kind of can't wait to watch it again later today. A fun show. Kind of sort of liking getting into this routine too of doing some morning streams. It's been keeping me a little bit focused at least, so I keep pegging away at this. I mean, I'm not really doing any work or I'm not really doing any debugging or research either for this app when I'm not on stream. So you guys are seeing the entire process. Basically, every thought that I have about this app is being caught on here. And yeah, hopefully if I can keep doing a couple hours each morning, we can actually build a decent app and have it spun up and running in a week or two. Yeah, hopefully get like an initial version of this out in like 2 weeks, maybe a week and a half. It'd be pretty cool. But all right, so we're printing our prompt results here. So the results are going to be the map of all the values. How did we handle this down here? We did an entry dot from map. And if we just pass it that map, yeah. So we shouldn't need to do that. This one's simple enough. So we'll do results are not equal to null. Then we want to see how long it is. We're actually going to want the return down there because I don't think we want the else. So that it'll just get it from JSON if we. So we're going to return to get out of the function here if we end up getting our prompt from the random. We're already checking that results is not equal to null. So let's just do results.length. And that's going to help us seed our random number generator. So now we're going to want let's say we're going to do our prompt map equals results rng.nextInt from results.length minus 1 because of the zero-based indexing. Prompt list.length minus 1. Prompt max. And then we're going to have to, from that map, build the prompt. Set prompt equal to prompt map ID prompt map prompt favorited prompt map favorited this equals 1, then true, else false. It should basically, because of this criteria where we're saying favorited equals 1 in the where clause, this should almost always come out to true. So we're going to set our prompt to that. And then we can return otherwise. Getting it from JSON, getting our random index, getting our random prompt. I think we actually want to do this. Here's what we're going to want. I'll notify listeners up there like we have down here. So check if the prompt is already favorited. To do that, we're just going to do who is favorited will be equal to await db.query prompts table where ID equals that and favorited equals 1. And the ID is going to be prompt map.id. Then we're getting a list map string dynamic results. We need this to return a Boolean. So we have our results where the ID is equal to this and favorited equals 1. Basically, if our results is not null and has an actual length, so like if there is a result, then we can set this to true. So if results is not equal to null and results.length is greater than 0, then we can return true to set that boolean. Else, well, yeah, else return false. And then favorited will be is favorited. So let's rebuild. My back definitely gets kind of stiff sitting here all the time. Just kind of, I mean, sitting at a couch is probably not the best place to do a lot of my coding. I have my desk, but it's just a mess. I need to clean it off so that I can actually work at it. It's kind of like a little homemade adjustable standing desk that I made with a cheap Walmart desk and some PVC. But yeah, it needs a good cleaning, so there's actually room for me to set my stuff and then I can work on it. Which maybe I'll do that soon so I can have a little more comfortable spot for these. But yeah, otherwise I also have another web app that I'm using Flutter Web for to play around with that I started building that's sort of like a workday wellness app to remind myself and force myself to get up and move a little bit, loosen up, do some stretches. But let's see how this works. We're going to pull favorite. Results is null. Where am I printing these results? Prompt results. So that one it took from the prompt results. This way we can see where they're coming from. So now that we have some of this working, get rid of some of these debug prints. I can leave that one for now. So not favorited. Let's favorite it. What item cheers you up to look at? Let's favorite that. So I am inspired by prompt results. So it actually hits the query, all of the results. Who is one person you're thankful to have met? What brought you joy today? I am inspired by. What item cheers you up to look at? So it went through there. So it hit the 20% time. to grab from SQLite, and then looks like it grabbed that third one. Let's go again. What brought you joy today? Show me page, show me page. Number of prompts, 28. Index 7. What brought you joy today? Prompt from JSON, but already favorited. So that's working well. And that's sort of what I wanted to check and make sure was happening here, so that if we're in the 80% of the time that we're pulling the prompt from the JSON file, we're still going to mark it as favorited if it's in the database as favorited. Yeah, and that appears to work pretty well here. So if we unfavorite it, I'm inspired by. That one was from the prompts in the 20% of the time. I am inspired by. That one was not from the prompts, that was from the JSON. Cool, cool. So this all seems to be working well. What is something you do well? What item cheers you up to look at? So this prompted part seems to be working pretty well. And then if we're back to today, so now we're going to work on a new page, and that's going to be the affirmation page. So I guess, I don't know if I have Adobe XD up at all here. Let's open up an XD project. And okay. So here's the affirmation page. Yeah, that we're going to be looking at. So we're going to create a new page and we'll link to it. So a new Dart file. Affirm page.dart. Yeah, we'll do a firm page. Let's do a firm.dart because we might have some. We'll probably put the dot in there, which I guess we could just call the affirm dot. Sure, let's do a firm page. Pretty consistent with some of my other. So we're going to want to import material, import provider, import models, SQLite. There might be some more we need, and maybe I will need all of these, I think. Now here's the question: is if I want to run this affirmation page as a stateful widget within Flutter's context, or I can run it as a stateless widget and handle all state within a provider for the page, which is often what I end up doing. It's just using the providers to handle a lot of it. What is going on? Sorry, getting some emails from work. Nothing too important, doesn't seem right now. Let's see what we're all going to need here, and then we can determine if we want it to be stateful. So what are the things that are going to change? We'll have the whole state of the affirmation page we're going to have to be pulling from. So we'll have to set up the provider to pull the main app provider, which has our database connection, and then from that database connection, we'll have to have, we can do a stateless widget because we'll still have to have like a future builder inside it that handles the state. Basically, are there any toggles that we're going to have to switch? Really, there aren't many toggles. I guess we can have a provider to run any sort of playing audio type thing. So that's where it's kind of get fun, is because for these affirmations, I want to make it so you can record your own audio and then you can hear yourself saying them. So I think we can get by with just doing a stateless widget. If we have to change it, we can, but I think a stateless widget with a provider for the page will work pretty well. So let's do that. We're going to have to override the build function, build context, and then we have to return a widget. Well, we're going to basically want to return this whole scaffold, but we're gonna have to pull out some of the stuff. Like we don't want the floating action button, so we got some stuff we can pull out. The whole floating action button can go. Map, we need to determine what map is. Import main.dart, and then so you have to get providers within the build function, but I think one of the cool things with provider is now that we already have this set up to where we're listening to this provider here, we should be able to anywhere inside or further down the tree than this multi-provider be able to access this main app provider with something like this. Main app provider map equals provider of main app provider context. And that should work. I need it. All right, and then the body of the sliding up panel, I think I can fully get rid of. Yeah. So for this body, we can just wipe that, and we're just gonna have basically an empty page right now. Your affirmations. And then the row, because we have that button on the side. What I do over here, I think I just had them gesture detectors. Let's see what size I made these gesture detectors. So where's the date? All right, here's our row. Then we had a row of gesture detectors. All right. This is going to be a show dialog. Context. Builder, that's what we need. Let's have it return a simple dialog for now. Shape. border radius, all 15. I need a radius dot circular and then 15, and title text. Yeah, and that's basically what that's going to give us. We do need to navigate to this page now, so we're going to need a navigator.push down here in the on tap of the affirmation page. So for we want to go to Affirm page. We need to import it. And we need to save. So we should be able to go to a new page now. Could not find the correct provider. Huh. We're navigating to a new page that has the provider within it. Unless I need to listen for that provider way further out in the main page. So where am I listening for, or where am I doing the change provider? So the multi-provider is the furthest thing on the outside of the build. I don't know what's going on there then, unless I need to wrap the whole material app. So I guess we'll try that now, is we'll see what happens. If we put this multi-provider, I mean, it doesn't necessarily need to be a multi-provider because I don't think I'll listen to too much more. But if we put it on the outside of the material app, then we should be able to have it in there. So let's do that. So we actually want to select the whole material app. We'll cut that for now. Will I have another provider where I actually need a multi-provider? I don't know, but create, and then main app provider. So then what I should also be able to do now is get rid of all of this, so I can just take this whole scaffold, including that, cut it all out, and then get rid of a whole provider. And then map, I have to define up here by doing what I did before. So we have main app provider map equals provider of main app provider for this context. And then this should solve our problems. Hopefully. I don't know. All right. So let's see. Are we able to get stuff from the database still? Yes. If we go here, can we fetch and favorite things? Ooh, what activity do you do that brings you delight? We'll add an entry. When I surf. With joy and able to relax. That apostrophe might cause an error, actually, now that I think about it. So this will be sort of good to monitor. I guess not, because I'm not doing. I'm using the insert helper, so I think that's why it's not causing that error. Let me see what that helper is. So the insert entry. Yeah, as a mat. Which is cool. And now if I come to this Affirm page, I mean, we obviously have to do some work there with formatting. But if I want to come back to today, cool. All right, so let's work on a little of this formatting. Let's see what size we have these things up here first. Yeah, so we're able to access that provider now, which exposes the database to all the pages. We have a font size 24 bold. Let's just copy that whole text style so they match. And then these are size 30, and then we want to space them between. So we'll go boom, and then main axis alignment, space between, refresh, boom. And that's just going to bring up a dialog that will be to add affirmations. Maybe one thing I want to look into is if we can stream from SQLite. So let's hop back on Google, because that would be cool if we could just stream the values out of SQLite for this page, because we're basically going to be pulling everything that we're getting out of results from the affirmation page. Yeah. QF Lite. Looks like there's other plugins that allow you that block pattern does not show newly added. Not fully using block. I don't know, mostly because I haven't learned it yet. Still somewhat new. I do need to dive in and learn it. I just learned provider first, I think, and sort of ran with it. I mean, I like provider. Definitely see some drawbacks to it here and there with the updating of states. Sometimes will partially update values. That's sort of happening more. I'm noticing it in my Purple app, which is my audio-based social podcasting network that I'm working to build. Um, that's my moonshot project. But yeah, the provider is a little finicky sometimes in there and can kind of slow things down a little bit. But I also just need to clean up a lot of that code. Engineering design pattern. Mirror. So I really just want to see where they're doing this streaming with SQLite. Class to do int ID description is so we're creating the database. I can always build my own stream. Where's the stream, brothers? So the Tude blog. So we create a broadcast stream controller. And then we just add on to that stream. Get to-dos. I really don't need to stream from that database as long as I'm remembering to get all the new values. So let's try to build it without a stream first. First things first, we need to set up this like list of cards essentially, which will be none, but that is going to be a list view because we want that portion to be scrollable. I don't want a scrollable, I want a list view. Vertical scroll. So this one we might need to put in a future builder. Yeah, so if we just put this in a future builder to where it goes and reads the DB to get the affirmations. Man, starting to rethink some of the architecture here with keeping all of the DB in that main app provider and maybe passing more data into functions so that we don't have like a super bloated main app provider where the main app provider is handling and storing data for every page. Although that's maybe not the worst thing because then your state is somewhat maintained between pages. Let me see, now that I moved that main app provider outside, actually, if that's true. And one way to tell that would be, what's our prompt? What? That's the basic one. What's this one song that makes you happy when you hear it? So now notice how before when we would switch pages, it would change the prompt back to the default. Now that we're maintaining our state outside, we should be keeping the prompt there. Yeah, so maybe that's a good thing that we can store the state so that when we're navigating between pages, it stays consistent with what it was the last time you were there. Yeah, that was weird. So I need to drop that though. Because the sliding up panel always starts at the bottom, but then. So there's a little minor bug. Let's just fix that quick. It shouldn't be that hard. FAB offset 30. So I just want to reset that when we load a new page. So maybe on each page I just set the FAB offset. To 30. What if I just set it to 30 in there? It won't ever move because when we rebuild this state with the updated FAB offset, so what if I also have an is open indicator for that drawer? It will be set to is open. We change pages. So yeah, this one's taking a little bit of thought to see how to do this. Basically, I'm looking for a way to keep that save button in line even when we change pages with the menu drawer. The problem right now is if we change pages and that drawer is open, which will almost always be doing that. The drawer will almost always be open when we change pages. We need to reset the floating action button for the closed menu. Only on the calendar page because there isn't a floating action button elsewhere. Well, within the menu drawer, we should be able to access our main app provider, and then we can just, on the page navigation for the calendar page, set the floating action button offset back to 30. I think that is a workable solution, actually, so let's give that a shot. So within this build, we should be able to access our main app provider map as a provider of the main app provider for this context. And then we have the map. And then in the menu drawer, what's this function actually doing? It's just setting it. All right, cool. That's what we want it to be doing. So we get the selected date. The map dot update from 30. All right. So that should solve that problem where it's up there. So we're here. We have it open before it was staying up top while this was closing. Cool. And now that seems to be workable. I don't know what impact it's going to have coming after the navigator. Sometimes weird things can happen on navigators. It's basically the same performance or the same thing. So yeah. Cool. At least that's working. It's back down where it needs to be. It slides up and down. We go to this page. Oh, because I have a null children here. Because I want to wrap that in a future builder. A list of affirmations, which is a model that we still have to create. Future, we'll call it map.get affirmations. That will return that, and then we'll have builder context, and then we'll have an async snapshot of the list of affirmations. Affirm list snap, we'll call that. Journalist view. Children. Where the element is not equal to null to list. Because then we can just do this in here and go from list snap. I don't know about that. I don't want to do it this way. If it doesn't have data, or if affirm list snap dot data is null, or if affirm list snap dot data dot length is 0. I don't want it to be a card, I just want it to be text. We need to build a model for the affirmation. We'll have an ID. Let's see what we're all displaying on XD here. So we'll have an ID, we'll have a value, which will be the text. ID value, I think we can do image and audio, just like the journal entries where we have an image and an audio. We definitely want the audio. Basically just trying to think if there's anything else we want to store, such as the date that it was created, or the last time the audio was played. Which doesn't hurt. I guess we can do the last time the audio was played, and that's not bad as well. So here's what we're going to want on our affirmation page. We're going to want the ID, the value, an image URL. We'll work on adding the image and the audio later. An image path, an audio path, image path, audio path, and the date created, I guess, and that's really it. So we have int, we have the string as a value, we have date time, date added, string, image path, string, audio path, date time, last played, date time, date modified. So we have the affirmations built at least. Now we just need to get affirmations. I also want to do a from map, so I can just pass it a map similar to the entry. Prompts isn't too bad because it's so small. The affirmation, I think I will do that though. From milliseconds since epoch. Factory affirmation from map. This is from a map, not a list of it. So, ID value. Not value, but added will be daytime dot from milliseconds since epoch. From milliseconds since epoch. Map date added. Date modified equals date time dot from milliseconds since epoch. Map. Might not ever end up using some of these like date fields, but I think it'd rather have them there than not, just in case. Map, image path, audio path, map, audio path, last played, map, last played, and there should be nothing left. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're good to go. So we have our affirmations set up now. Now we need to go to the main app provider and create this get affirmations. So I guess one thing I will look up quick right now is whether it's going to cause an error to run a query against a table that doesn't exist yet. Or if it'll just automatically handle it and return nothing, which would be ideal. If not, we're just going to have to check if the table exists. And if it doesn't exist, then we're just going to return nothing. So yeah, I'll jump on that in a second. I am going to run to the bathroom real quick. I'm sorry about that, but I will keep working on building this page out. We're getting some good progress today. All right, so let's get building that. So we'll Google that and see. Run query if table exists. How do I reliably check in SQLite whether a particular table exists? I'm not asking for unreliable ways like checking if a select on the table returned an error or not. Is this even a good idea? I need to create and then populate some tables if they do not exist already. See, that's probably going to give them the create if not exists. I wonder if you can do a select if exists. SQLite will throw an exception if the table in a select does not exist. There's simply no need for any more fancy work. It will, but so will a number of other things. That's a bit like seeing if that tree is really there by driving forwards with your eyes shut. Should I take... I missed that FAQ entry. Anyway, for future reference, the complete query is select name from SQLite master where type equals table and name equals table name. This will return a list of tables with the name specified. That is, the cursor will have a count of 0 or a count of 1. So I guess this is the way we're going to try, is selecting from the SQLite masters table to see if it exists. If it does exist, we run a query. to get everything in it. So yeah, we'll just start working on that function. So get affirmations. So let's go to our main page. We need to go up here. Handle prompts, just trying to section this off a little bit. Prompts. That's just going to be start database. Handle gratitude, journal entries. Handle affirmations. And the first thing we're going to have here is picture list affirmation. Get affirmation. Another one of those annoying times in Android Studio when methods must have an explicit list of parameters. That's even worse than giving a parameter. String test. It's one of those annoying things where, watch this. Close project. Android Studio. Here, 1 second. Let me go open it up quick on a different screen. Open, Tude, open, new window. Let me drop that back on this desktop. And then you'll watch all this turn color as it loads it in, and this error will probably be gone. And there we go, no more error. So yeah, definitely just some sort of Android Studio bug there. Maybe I'll post that on the Android Studio GitHub so they're aware of it. Spotlight that. So here's going to be our process. It's going to be check if affirmation table exists. Return null if doesn't exist. And then we'll handle for the null. Affirmation table exists. Null affirmations. Turn list. So one thing to think about here, I guess, again, is with this data storage, users might want to change what affirmations they have. Let's say they want to delete one. Do we want to just delete that from the database or have a flag of like active, inactive off the database? I think maybe we have a feature where they can permanent delete it, but we also have an active Boolean. Yeah, I think an active Boolean is good. So we're going to also add in a Boolean active active and active equals if mat active equals 1, then true, else false. Oops, need to do a there. And then we can use this guy's query here to select from SQL master. What does the execute return? That's the question. In SQLite. Where's delete. So these are using all the helper functions. And can just run db.query because they return a list of strings, but where's execute? What does db.execute return is the question. I guess you can run db.raw query instead of execute, and that'll return a list of maps. So yeah, we'll do that. We'll do db.raw query. So table exists equals wait db.raw query. It's going to return a list future. All right, we just got to async that, and I'll get rid of that error. Yeah, with our SQL. Information. async that dot then results if results equal null or results dot length is an easier way to do this, I think, is doing the inverse. So if we do if results is not equal to null, and then results dot length is greater than 0, meaning it has some value, will return true. False. If it's so, then basically, if it is equal to null or it doesn't get a result here, print it will exist. And we'll see how that goes. And then once I can get this sort of started, so we still got to find a way to add in the affirmations in that dialog so you can actually add them to the database. We're sort of, I guess, putting the cart in front of the horse right now and going through the process of pulling that data from the database before we're actually saving anything there, which is why we're sort of expecting it to come out empty. Affirmation table exists. False. Cool. So now we need to work on this dialog. The way we have the dialog looking in XD is like so. It's basically just a full screen dialog that's going to allow you to create your own, first of all. So you can just type your own. Then we'll also have a bunch of suggested ones for different topics, probably, or different areas of life that you can just select some pre-made ones that you can scroll through. Yeah, and I need to put together some of those. So that's a task I'll work on, especially because sort of coming up to probably the end of this stream here today. And then I can hopefully work on at least getting some of the affirmations into a text file, sort of like I did with the prompts, so that in the next stream we can work on pulling them in and adding them to this dialog. And then from there, we'll work on it. So when you click this check mark right here, in it, it'll automatically add it to the database like a toggle. But the one thing with that will be for these ones that you type on your own is allowing you to add a category to them. Yeah, and I think I know how I'll do that. So maybe I'll just try to find icons for each category that I want to add. It'll probably be things like health, work, home, relationships. Yeah, just different areas of your life. Maybe I'll have an icon for each of those up top right here that you can click to change what category you're in, and then it'll have like a create your own under that, general as well. So if you create your own, it'll be given the tag of the selected category. We'll do an ID primary key again, but when you're creating your own, we're just going to have to be checking the actual text, which is fine. We can just do a where on where the text is the same. It'll throw it off, like if there's a punctuation difference or anything like that, that won't match. Unless we lowercase everything and then compare it, that's a possibility. Just to make the where a little more accurate. But yeah, this is basically what our add affirmations thing will pop up that dialog, and then we'll do the row of icons at the top. Maybe I can start adding some of that quick before we go here today, just so you can get a feel for it. Let me try that. So where is this? We're going to return. We're going to cut that. Add affirmation dialog. Class. Add affirmation dialog. Extend. Widget. Oh boy. I always forget how to do this part when I do stateful widgets, of how you actually like do the state and the widget. You have to override this. So for that, it's going to be an affirmation dialog state. Add affirmation dialog state. Class. Add affirmation dialog state. Extends state. Add affirmation dialog. Add override build. I'm gonna do that. Build context, and then we're going to, oops, not that. We're going to turn simple dialog shape rounded rectangle border radius all is reduce radius circular the title center child text and information. Children. This will work as a column. So first, so we want to do that row of icons. Do an E down here. Affirmation category. General. Yeah, we'll start with that for now. I mean, we'll probably do more, but affirmation category, selected category, and default it to affirmation category dot general. That can change. And then row children in axis alignment. We want space around. Gesture detector dot on tab. Icons dot What's a good icon for general? Icon for general. Ixon for general is what I actually searched. I mean, yeah, I could just do an information icon or a personal icon, maybe for general. Person. Size 48. Color. Select category equals affirmation category dot general, then colors dot pink, else is dot black. Add another one in here. Here. Or add another one in here. And I think I might want to close these all out in circles. Oops. Oh. What is family restroom look like? Yeah. So I think I am going to put these in circles. So that they look a little more like buttons. And I'll maybe have to cut down the size to like 36, maybe 38. Just to cut it down a little bit. But yeah, put them in circles, make the icons white probably within there, and then work on the adding your own port part and looking up what we have for some starting points, for some suggestions for different affirmations that people can add. Yeah, I think that'll be what I work on next time. Hopefully before next time, which is probably going to be tomorrow morning, I will be able to have some basic ones to start with. And then that'll give me the ability to start pulling from an asset text file like the prompts one we have. And if I can pull from that file to seed some initial ones and then set it up so that you can add them and it'll create the database if need be when we want to add one, similar to what we were doing with the prompts. Yeah, so we should be able to next time be able to get that implemented and then also get the cards to display them implemented. Probably work a little bit on an edit dialog for the affirmations. And then I guess it depends on what I want to do next, which is two options basically once we have that part set. Well, I guess three options. We could start working on the home page, which will display sort of an overview of everything. It's what the home page is going to look like. Let me pull that up on XD. Will be this. And when we have this page, you see we'll have your affirmation up top. It'll just be a random one from one of the ones you've chosen. If you don't have any yet, maybe we'll have it say like a button, click here to go choose your affirmations or something. The consider portion is just going to be like a random quote from a random person. Not a random person, but like a random inspirational, motivational quote to put up there. And then you can refresh that. And then the reflect portion will be like a timeline of all of your gratitude journals. So one option that we could work on next after we get the affirmation page built. The second option is we can work on implementing the recording audio piece. So if we do the recording audio piece, and I mean, if we did that, we would also do adding images, storing both of those in an application directory. Yeah, basically just those, and implementing so you can view the images that you've added to your gratitude journals or listen to your affirmations. And then the third option that I could also start working on is to start implementing some of the settings page. Probably a lot go into the settings page because that's where we're going to do the reminders. So like push notification reminders for you to fill these out, or to do a piece of your day, like to go fill out a gratitude journal, or go repeat some affirmations, or just look at an inspirational quote. That would be the part on the settings page that I would start implementing maybe right away. The other things that I would like to do on the settings page are allowing it so you can put a lock screen for the app, so that you have to enter a passcode to get into your journal, just in case multiple people are using the phone. And then further down the line, that's where we'll also have Google Drive backup, any different settings. We'll maybe implement a dark mode. Yeah, dark mode might be kind of cool, especially with the pink. I think the darker pink would actually look pretty BA, man. So yeah, we'll look at all of those things. But first things first, we'll finish up the affirmations page. Definitely, I think should be able to take care of that in the next stream, as long as I get a good list of affirmations, so that we have some text to start with. And obviously you can add your own. Yeah, I would expect to get into that part, and then we'll maybe get started on one of those three things that I'll be doing next. I'm not sure which one. Yeah, someone, I guess, can let me know if they think should go next. I'm leaning towards doing I don't know, I'm in the fence between doing the home page or the images and the audio. The homepage would maybe be the faster thing to start implementing, but I would also have to get together a list of some of these quotes so we have something to start with. And then also, I would be looking to, not also, I guess, so that's why I would want to do, slash what would prevent me from doing the homepage right away. There's really nothing preventing me from doing the audio and the image portion. It's just a little bit, not more work, just a little more in depth, going into pulling in new packages for selecting or taking images. So selecting from the gallery already on your phone, or allowing you to access your camera and take a new one. Same with audio, having to access and record information from the microphone. Yeah, but I would say the affirmation page should definitely be finished up next time. And then we'll go on to something else. We were able to get a decent amount done today. So we were able to build and finish building out the feature for the prompts. So we're now properly saving the prompts and being able to retrieve both favorited prompts and prompts from the JSON file that either aren't favorited, or if they are favorited, will mark it as favorited. yeah, I guess that's really the main thing we got done today. We fixed that one little bug with, well, we had to move the main app provider out so that we could actually access it within all our pages. So we do have to have those providers outside of the material app. That's okay. And then once we moved that out, we were able to finish the prompt stuff, but that also let us start building this affirmations page. And that's about where we got to today, is starting to build some of the front end look portion of the affirmations page. And we'll work on adding more functionality to it and finishing it up next. But yeah, that's what we got. Let me know what else you guys would like to see, or hopefully we're burning through this app and we might be on to a new app in a couple weeks. So let me know what the next app we should build is. Maybe I'll keep working on my workplace wellness timer because I need that so on mobile. But yeah, until next time, peace out. Yeah. Swell looks like it's coming in this week, so it's a good sign. Oops.